Hi, welcome back to ABA-ish. I'm Dr. Billy Retzlaff, and today I'm here to talk to you about caregiver energy use. All right, so let's get right into it. To start, what is caregiver energy? This can be kind of a broad topic or a broad way of looking at things, but the truth is that it's the best term for me because being a caregiver is so much hard work. It requires time, focus, emotional stamina, physical labor, physical work, consideration of other resources like how am I allocating my money or my space. And so I like the term caregiver energy because it's kind of a simplified term to use that can incorporate all the different things that you're doing that are so much work as a caregiver. All that you're putting into it, that's that energy. And it can be good or bad, right? It can be all that time that you spend laboring to cook a dinner that nobody eats, or when you're having to give all of that energy where you're nagging and prompting and reminding people to do what they're supposed to be doing. Those might be sometimes that feels like a use of negative energy. But we can also have these times that feel like a really positive energy use. So, getting to go to a playground and just play with your kid for a while, that can be exhausting, but it still feels really positive. And so just so you know, like energy, we're not talking about energy in and of itself as good or bad. We're going to talk about things that take a lot of energy versus things that take a little bit of energy. And both of those can be good and bad. So why does it matter? Why does this topic matter? If you follow my channel at all, you will see that I talk a ton about where are we as caregivers expending our energy. And to me, it's so important because we know that almost always behavior has a reason for happening. Now, I know this doesn't feel true a lot of times. Say for example, your kid has been in a situation 20 different times and they've handled it super well, and then all of a sudden on the 21st time, they lose it. That can feel like a time where it's like that happened for no reason. But I encourage you to really think that even in the moment, if things feel like they're happening for no reason at all, if you peel back and you look at a bigger picture, there almost always is a reason for those things. And the truth is that a really big part of the time, that reason has to do with caregiver energy. So in behavior analysis, they talk a lot about the function or the reason for behavior. And a ton of the most common functions or reasons for kid behavior has to do with their caregiver energy. These may be things like doing things to get attention or a reaction from a caregiver. But it also might be things like doing something to get access to what you want, so to be able to play with a preferred item or do a preferred activity or even have like a preferred snack. That's all getting the things I want. Another really common reason for problematic behavior or any behavior as a whole is to get out of doing something that we don't want to do, right? So a kid may be trying to get out of doing their chores or their homework or going to bed. And then a final reason that has a ton to do with caregiver energy is doing something to get other people to behave the way we want them to behave. So this might be a kid who is engaging in a certain way in order to get their parent to then engage in that certain way. That's going to use a ton of caregiver energy, right? It's almost like the kid is trying to dictate where caregivers put their energy. They don't talk about it this way to make it sound like kids have this grand plan, right? They might not be conscious of what they're doing or why they're doing it or how they're doing it. But time and time again, research shows us that this is true. The more caregiver energy that a behavior gets, the more likely it is that that behavior will happen. And this actually ends up in our favor. We as caregivers then can take that information and use it really intelligently. So how I like to think of it is that we have this continuum. As a caregiver, I get to pick how much of my energy I exert at any given time. And that can go all the way from a low, almost no energy response to the highest, most energetic response I can possibly muster. And what we find is that kid behavior will align with this. So anything that consistently gets low energy behavior over time, that's going to happen less often. And anything that consistently gets high energy behavior over time, that's going to happen more often. Now, what you'll notice is I didn't say that if you give low energy to a behavior, it will never happen. That's not reality. Inappropriate behavior sometimes happens, even if we're really good at using low energy responses. But the goal is to make it less and less likely to happen while simultaneously making it more and more likely that we get the really great behaviors that we're giving high energy to, right? So we're not expecting perfection. We're still going to see good and bad behavior from our kids. But what we're trying to do is shift how much of that is happening by shifting our energy responses. So let's give some examples so that you can see what I'm talking about. All right, let's start with a kid who right now we're having a problem of that kid is not being very aware of their body and space. And so they're a lot of times bumping into people. Maybe they break items when they hit them or knock down a younger sibling. They're not really paying attention or being aware to where their body is in space. And we would consider this a behavior we want to see less of. It's starting to become a frustration in our home, maybe even a safety issue, depending on how big that kid is and who else is around. And so it's definitely something we want to see less of. What you'll see as a really common response to this is a parent getting frustrated and angry. They might yell at the kid and say, "Hey, I've told you a million times, you've got to watch where you're going." That's a lot of high energy responding, right? You can hear my voice go up. I can actually feel my heart rate start to increase a little bit just from my response there. And so here is our most common problem. We have a misalignment. We're looking for this behavior to happen less often, yet we're giving it high energy. We're going to the other side of the continuum. So as a caregiver, I need to focus my responding and make sure that that behavior I want to see less of gets a low energy response. I have a whole nother video that you can watch that talks about specifics of what is a low energy response and what is a high energy response. For the purpose of this example, I'm just going to say that, that low energy response would be a known consequence that I can deliver while staying very calm and neutral. So for example here, that might be something like, "Hey, I see your body is having a hard time following our safety rule. I'm going to set a 5-minute timer. Go pick a calming strategy." And your kid would go take a 5-minute calming break. Okay, let's do another example just so we can kind of see the spectrum of how this can go both ways. So for this example, let's imagine that our kid is independently playing in their room appropriately. This is definitely something that I want to see more of as a parent. I always have to cook and clean and get some work done, and there are different things that take my time and energy from me. And so I want to make sure that my kids are being effective at their independent play if they can, so that I can get that done. So from a caregiver perspective, this is amazing. You played on your own, great. But what's really easy and common is that we actually end up giving this a lot of low energy. We kind of leave the kid alone while they're playing and we get our work done. And when they finish, they come out, maybe we say something like, "Okay, what do you want to do next?" But that doesn't line up, right? We're on the wrong side of our continuum again. We have a behavior we want to see more of, but we're doing low energy. And so as a caregiver, I need to find a way to shift myself back to that right side of the continuum. I need to take the time to give it a high energy response. This doesn't mean I don't also take advantage and get my chores done. I 100% do. But what this means is, say my kid usually can play like that on their own for 20 minutes. Maybe after about 15 minutes, when they're still doing what they're supposed to be doing and it's looking really great, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to give a high energy response. I'm going to talk to them about what they've been working on. I'm going to praise them. I'm going to thank them with genuine care for giving me the time to get our chores done. Whatever that may be, I'm going to give a lot of that really high energy responding to this behavior because I liked it and I want to see more of it. So the point of all of this that I hope you're getting is that you as a caregiver have a choice to be intentional with your energy. We don't control a lot as caregivers. We don't always have a choice in exactly what our kid does in each situation, right? But we always get to choose where our energy goes and how we respond. And if we can align our energy with our goal for our kids, that's critical, right? If we can make sure if they're doing something we want to see less of, we're staying low energy. And if they're doing something we want to see more of, we're giving high energy. That is amazing. And yes, it's hard, but boy, oh boy, is it going to be worth it, because what you're going to see is two things. One, you're going to see that eventually your kid shifts to doing more of those better behaviors that you're giving your high energy to, and less of those things that you don't want to see them doing. Now, the shift doesn't happen overnight, and the shift is not perfect. And so you as a caregiver need to commit to being consistent in controlling your own energy. What I've seen some caregivers do is maybe try this for like a day and say, nope, it doesn't work. That's not how this goes. We're again, big picture thinking. So our kids need to see consistently over time, always, I'm getting low energy for those inappropriate things and high energy for those appropriate things. So that's the first reason to do this, even though it's hard, is because you will see a shift in your kids' behavior, and that is amazing. The other reason is a little bit more personal as a caregiver. It's that it just feels better to be focused on the good things that your kids do. When you are constantly saying the negatives out loud and drawing attention to those and talking about those and focused on those, you will start to feel like they are a bigger part of your everyday life. It really can kind of be this self-perpetuating cycle. And so instead, stepping back and saying, I'm going to focus the good. I'm going to focus on having high energy for the good and low energy for those things that are not so good. You will actually start to feel that yourself as you're feeling more positively and happy about your job as a caregiver. So it is hard, but the really good thing that I want you to know is it's also not all or nothing. The way I was talking about this today is like everything more, you want to see more of that behavior, you better give it your highest energy possible. But that's not real life. Sometimes I don't have the ability to even tap into my highest level possible. So in those cases, what I need to do is just stay on the right side of the continuum, right? It's something I want to see more of. Maybe I can give it some moderate energy, some middle energy. I don't quite have the high energy that I would love to give it, but I'm making sure to at least give it some good energy. The same thing with those behaviors that you want to see less of and you're supposed to be low energy. Maybe you sort of initially respond really quickly and you're like, no, which is high energy. And then you realize, hey, I need to pull it back down towards that low energy side of my spectrum. Yep, I shouldn't have given that high energy burst to start, but now if I go into low energy mode, I'm going to neutralize at a, low-ish energy zone. And so I hope this was really helpful for you to kind of look through and hear this bigger, broader idea about caregiver energy. It's really important to me and something that I talk about a ton. So please go subscribe to my channel and then check out some more of my videos. I have that one up that really talks about what is a low energy response and what is a high energy response that I recommend so that you as a caregiver can start to plan, okay, what is this going to look like for me and my family? Thank you so much for taking the time to listen, and I hope to see you again soon.